you're just not motivated to play video games, you find all games to be roughly the same thing, and you're just not enjoying yourself with gaming anymore, well, you are not alone, and I have the answer for you. I've been gaming for over 40 years, and I know exactly what is going on and why you feel this way. However, before we dive into it, I'm going to show you a clip, and I want you to watch this video clip very carefully. And then we're going to discuss the issues you have with gaming. Alright, the clip is done, you watched it I hope, and the clip showed a whole bunch of games. Now, I want you to tell me just how many of those games you actually recognize, how many of those games you've played and enjoyed. And if your answer is none or very few, that might just be your problem right there with why you find gaming so boring nowadays. In fact, there are several reasons that I'm going to cover in this video as to why people find video games boring, uninteresting, dull, and so on these days. I am over 40 years old at the time of recording this video. Never in my life have I said that gaming as a whole is boring. I love video games with every bit as much passion as I did when I was a kid, if not more so nowadays. So we're going to take a look at the reasons why so many people get bored of video games, and I'm going to help you overcome these reasons so that if you really want to enjoy gaming again, you will, but you're going to have to put some work into it. Reason number one would be active refusal to stay informed. Mainly, people simply don't want to and refuse to do any and all kind of research into video games and types of video games they like and enjoy, to see just what new games are available in their favorite genres or series. They also refuse to see which older games they might have missed are out there for them to play. The problem is that so many of these people who tell me that video games are boring nowadays, they're dull, and that there is nothing to play anymore, that they don't make games the same as they did back then, have no idea what's out there. Now, I'm going to give you a few examples of people that I've argued with over the years, and some understood that I was right and some just didn't care. Several years ago, I had a guy on a Macedonian gaming group contact me asking for video game recommendations, and that's all well and good. But what the guy says is, you know, Ollie, they don't make games like they used to anymore. When I was a kid, I used to play Sonic, and I want to give my kids something like Sonic to play that's new, but they just don't make games like that anymore. He was specifically looking for PS4 games at the time. And I'm like, buddy, we have Sonic Mania. We have Freedom Planet. There are many 2D platformers that you're looking for. And he's like, oh, wow, I didn't know these games existed. And that's okay. So I talk to him and I go, are you into gaming? Oh, yeah, he says, I'm a huge gamer. I love video games more than anything. Oh, well, why didn't you just do your own research? And it takes 5 minutes for you to figure out what's out there. And he says, well, I don't have time, man. I have kids. I have a wife. I have a job. Yeah, you're the only one with kids, wife, and a job. And that's... Wait, do you watch sports? Oh, he says, yeah, sure, I watch sports. I love football. I love, I don't even know which team he was talking about. And he goes, and this and that. I'm like, so you know about this stuff? Oh, yeah, I know all about this stuff. And you read about this stuff? Yeah, sure, I read about sports. I read. All right, you watch movies? Yeah, sure, I watch movies from time to time. I love movies. All right, you love movies, you love sports. Are you into cars or anything? I love cars, he says. He says he likes. Okay, so you have many hobbies, but gaming isn't one of them. He said, oh, but no, I love video games. I mean, if you loved video games, you would have found the time to do a little bit of research. It takes less than 5 minutes to type 2D platformers for PS4 and to get a list of games that you might enjoy. So if you have the time to do research on sports, you probably do sports betting as well, which is very popular here, and he did. You have time to watch movies, you have time to follow politics, you have time to follow cars. That actually tells me that you're just not into gaming as much as you think you are. And you know what? He agreed. He said, you know what? I'm actually not into gaming as much as I thought I was. Research is very easy to do, and it doesn't take all that long to find what games are available out there in your favorite genres. I have had many situations like this. Many people come to me with the excuse that they have no time because they have a baby, kids, wives, all kinds of stuff. But when I talk to them, it all turns out that it is an excuse. And they admitted themselves that it's an excuse because they do so many other things. They would rather watch complete brain rot on the internet. Like literal brain rot, like turbo folk videos, TikTok videos, and all kinds of nonsense. But for some reason, typing in a few words to research a video game or a video game genre is somehow exhausting to them. And that's what they actually say. It's tiring and exhausting. They don't want to do it. And as it turns out, they have absolutely no love or interest in gaming at all. I'm all for casual approach to gaming, but when you have this ignorant approach to gaming, that's wrong. That's very, very wrong, because you keep telling people around you who don't know much about gaming but might be interested in it that games are boring nowadays. They just don't make games anymore like they used to, and so on. They make plenty of games nowadays, my friend. You are not interested in them. Then there is the retro game enthusiast. I talk to so many of these people. They are usually obsessed with retro gaming, and they've recently learned that retro games can be very expensive, so they start hoarding games. They hoard just about anything retro nowadays. And they tell me that they're huge gamers, that they love retro games. Their favorite games are Super Mario and Double Dragon, and that's it. They just don't make games like they used to anymore. There's just nothing to play anymore. And I'm like, well, you have plenty of retro games. Why don't you play those? I've played everything retro. I know all the retro games. All right. So I bring up a game or two that I love. Something even as popular as, say, Pokken Rocky on the SNES, or I don't know, the Turrican games, what have you. It doesn't matter whatever I talk about. And they grow silent. They've never played those games. And I'm like, oh, great. Well, you have new games to explore and play. Oh, yeah, I'll check them out, they say. They are not going to check them out, and they never do. It's not just those few games. They know nothing past Super Mario, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, Double Dragon. That's it. And whatever arcade games they used to play as kids, because arcade games were huge here in the 80s and early 90s. Back then, they had more diverse taste in games. They cared about exploring games. Now they don't. And they claim that they've played everything. They haven't. Be it 8 or 16-bit games, be it PS1, PS2, Dreamcast games, these people know nothing about gaming. They know about a few popular games, and they claim they've played everything. And they have no interest in exploring retro gaming. They don't want to explore retro gaming, they don't want to play new games because supposedly new games are boring, even though many of them are no different from retro games. They love them played. So is gaming the problem here? No, it's not. You are the problem. So don't go crying to me that gaming is boring. You are boring. You are uninterested. You need to find yourself a new hobby and leave gaming alone. Yes, I'm gatekeeping because you know what? You're giving gaming a bad name. You've never played any of the games in the clip I initially showed, and you never will. Gaming is not for you. And that's my final thought. So reason number 2 is refusal to try anything new. People tend to get stuck in the games they play out of habit, be that live service games, online games like Minecraft, World of Warcraft, what have you, that Fortnite game, and they simply refuse to play or try anything else. Yet they're bored of these tedious, time-consuming games they keep playing, but they just don't care. They could also be stuck playing mobile games with tons of microtransactions, which are rip-offs of actual real arcade games, but for whatever reason they're not gonna play the arcade game, they're gonna play the mobile game. Or they only stick to AAA titles and refuse to broaden their horizons. They refuse to see what indie games are out there, what lower budget games are out there, because they have this idea stuck in their head that gaming should be similar to Hollywood movies, so they only play AAA garbage at the end of the day. Of course, you're gonna get bored if all you play is AAA stuff or live service online games. That's not gaming, that's just part of gaming. There's so much more to gaming than that. You have to understand that gaming doesn't begin and end with AAA gaming. It doesn't begin and end with indie gaming or fan games. Gaming is all about variety, all about choice. Gaming doesn't begin and end with retro gaming either. So you can't just say, hey, you know what, games were better back in the day and now they're just not as good, even though you probably haven't even played all that many retro games to begin with. Now, reason number 3 is your inability to enjoy simple games and your unwillingness to give such games a shot. Arcade games, beat 'em ups, fighting games. Yeah, fighting games can be very deep. Shmups, they can also be very deep, but they don't have to be, because they adapt to casual and more hardcore players very well. There are all kinds of games that are very simple and easy to pick up and play, that are not mobile games, that are not online games infested with all kinds of microtransactions, that people simply refuse to play and don't know how to enjoy anymore. From LCD and VFD games back in the day to arcade games, we played so many simple games and I just can't get enough of them to this day. No, you don't have to have grown up back when gaming was developing to be able to appreciate these type of games. You are already doing it if you play mobile games to supposedly pass the time. So instead of playing these microtransaction infested, ad infested games, why not explore gaming a little bit more and learn about simple games that are similar to the games you're already playing, but give you full control and ownership of your gaming time. There is so much for you to enjoy. Not every game has to be some kind of complex, some kind of difficult. Not every game needs complex and deep systems for you to have fun with, because if you play nothing but highly complex games, you are going to burn yourself out. Buy yourself a Steam Deck, Nintendo Switch, some kind of retro emulation handheld, and discover all kinds of easy to pick up and play simple games on these platforms. There are so many indie games nowadays that are just pure joy to play, and all you have to do is discover these games and give them a try. Now, the fourth reason why you might find gaming boring, why you have a video game burnout, could be because of your approach to gaming as a whole. Some people have very rigid approach to gaming, meaning that they have to play games a certain way. They have to approach gaming more as a chore than as a relaxing activity. They don't balance these things, and while it's perfectly fine for you to have a more serious approach to games at times, you should also be able to relax and just play games by shutting your brain off and relaxing from time to time. Or you can do both, it doesn't matter. Or you can it's perfectly fine to never play games seriously and to just play them casually. But your approach to gaming has a lot to do with how you enjoy video games, because if every game you play must be approached a certain way, where you have to achieve certain things, where you have to play on the highest difficulty at all times, where you restrict yourself from using in-game items or ways to make the game easier, and you purposely make it more difficult because supposedly you find this more enjoyable, eventually you are going to get burned out and you're going to lose your interest in gaming slowly but surely. That's why you need to balance these things. Play games on easy mode, use cheats, play easy games, then when you get bored of that, take a more hardcore approach again, and so on. Just balance these things in a way so that it works for you. Don't just stick to one approach to gaming, because it's going to burn you out. Now, the fifth reason people get bored of gaming and they get video game burnout are very restrictive gaming standards, meaning that you expect video games to meet certain, probably very high standards and certain criteria, and if games do not meet these standards and criteria, you refuse to play the games or you quickly lose interest in them. This only restricts you from enjoying and playing all sorts of games, because not all games can follow and abide by the same standards. What you're essentially doing is depriving yourself of potentially amazing gaming experiences just because they're not perceived as perfect in your mind, and that only serves to make you have less choices when it comes to gaming. It's perfectly fine to have video game preferences, it's perfectly fine to want to play certain types of games, but you can't stubbornly stick to your standards and never expand your horizons. Let me give you an example. Very often I keep hearing people complaining that there is nothing good to play because they've already played the best games there are. And admittedly, often those games are very good. If I had such restrictive standards, I wouldn't have enjoyed JRPGs anymore for the most part, after having played Suikoden 2, Mother 3, the Digital Devil Saga games, Dragon Quest V, and so on. And if no other JRPG met these criteria, these standards that those amazing games set, and if I ended up comparing every game I ever played to those games, I wouldn't have enjoyed any kind of games. Or when it comes to story-driven games, if I had to judge every game based on, I don't know, Grim Fandango and Silent Hill 2 and other games with absolutely incredible stories, then I never would have enjoyed any story-driven games. It just makes no sense to me. So, while it's perfectly fine to have high standards when it comes to whatever, gameplay, visuals, story, whatever, multiple aspects in a game, there's nothing wrong with that, you should be more flexible in your approach to gaming, and you should be able to find joy even in games that are not all that good. If I had to hold all games to the highest of high standards, I wouldn't have such a rich video game experience throughout the years, and I'd be the one missing out. With that said, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you thinking that some games are garbage, that you can't get into some games and so on, but people are way too quick to judge whether or not they can get into a game before they even give it a chance or watch enough gameplay footage of it or what have you. Don't do that. Be more flexible, because you will open up more gaming opportunities for yourself that way. So guys, as you can see, it's not gaming, it's you. It's perfectly fine if you're not interested in gaming anymore and you're looking for some other hobby, but if you claim that you love gaming yet you tell me that video games are boring nowadays, well, that just means you're not doing your research. That just means you have very rigid standards, criteria for when it comes to video games, and you're restricting yourself from enjoying gaming. Now, I will say this. It is true that nowadays a lot of game design, both indie and non-indie, is very safe. Whereas back in the day, developers were more willing to experiment and do all kinds of wild things when it comes to both visual design, audio design, and gameplay. And I understand that some people are genuinely and rightfully so bored of these more safe game designs, and where they're not being safe, they tend to lean more toward the overly edgy aspect. This is a problem, but it doesn't mean all indie games or all lower budget games are like that. You just need to find the right games to play. Plus, there's so many retro games for you to explore that I'm absolutely certain that you have not played everything like many of these people like to claim. So guys, there's so much to play. For example, I look at my video game collection, both physical and digital, and I can tell you that if I never buy a single game ever again, I will have games to play for the rest of my life, because I have so many physical and digital games that I haven't even started yet. So there's always something to play. All you need is your will to play video games, to explore gaming, and to broaden your video game horizons, which many people simply don't want to do. So yeah, I guess that's about it when it comes to this video. I hope it helped you gain a new perspective on gaming and understand why gaming is every bit as good nowadays as it always was.